practically dead, nobody will watch him. Kimmel, every night his ratings are terrible. He's not a talented guy. I thought he was a lousy host.
Jimmy Kimmel Live, tonight on ABC.
The worst network is ABC. She doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
I believe in
I'll change the word ABC to PDQ. Yeah, there's a parody of ABC called PDQ.
Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit.
We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster, it breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country. First of all, they bought the chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than
angry woman.
That's bigger than New York State.
Grin and stare at your papers,
just look
real
at what they're doing to our
nervously.
country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals.
Just
And
like
that's bad for our economy, too. You mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't
Right now,
want
you're
that.
not debating anything, lady. You're trying to seek sympathy through shock and awe.
Through bug bites, poison ivy, or any itch. It works fast and lasts for hours. Cortisone 10.
It's just, ugh.
If you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former secretary of defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term.
See, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire them.
This is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails.
I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy. With a fake Russia investigation that went nowhere.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for
You mean that all
national
charges were
security
dropped and y'all were the ones
economic
continuously
crimes,
pushing them?
election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentence.
Look at what's going on in the Middle East.
It was dropped. What are you talking about? Criminal
Settle
sentencing.
and fast, and I'll
They
get the war
dismissed
with
everything.
Ukraine and
You're
Russia
lying,
ended.
flat out.
If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before
She just sat
even
and lied,
becoming
like,
president.
plain out.
Vice President Harris,
All the charges against Trump were dropped.
That's
There's no
absolutely not
sentences.
true.
It was thrown out.
My entire career and life
Shit.
supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is, it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known
Really? All
that he
those countries
admires
seem to like him,
dictators,
and they
wants
were
to be a
afraid to mess
dictator
with
on
him.
day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants.
What?
Go into Ukraine. It is well known
Because
that he
that's
said
not
when
our
Russia
problem,
went into
Kamala.
Ukraine, it was
She's using that out of
brilliant.
context.
It is well known he exchanged
That's all she's gonna
love
do.
letters
But
with
the
Kim
fact
Jong-un.
is if I was him,
And it is
I would have just interrupted her and been like,
absolutely
shut up a minute,
that
let's go
these
ahead and say this.
dictators and
That's
autocrats
not
are
my
rooted
country. I don't live there. I don't need to protect them.
Maybe it won't be a short.
Their leader's job, not mine. See, they didn't like all of that, him fucking tariff and everything and all that. They hated that crap.
We understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
The administration you're part of, Kamala, totally botched
That's weak on national security.
a terrorist
Every nation last month,
execution or whatever you want to
68
call it.
different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week. Said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it. Because what he's gotten away with